Welcome to Predecessor. Playing Predecessor or any MOBA competitively makes you feel like you're locked in a room with a delusional schizophrenic psychopath who wants nothing for you but to suffer and lose games if you dare to make a simple mistake or make the smallest critique, no matter how polite or valid it is. Predecessor is a shooter, role-playing, strategy, free-to-play, third-person multiplayer online battle arena game developed and published by Omega Studios. Here's the story. There were two teams of 5 people on opposite sides of a map. One team thought their side was better, and the other thought the same. So instead of deciding to agree to disagree, they decided to kill each other and break each other's buildings until it was clear which side was superior. There's not much lore here. You could look at the lore of Paragon, because Predecessor is a continuation of Paragon, but this was my interpretation of it. This game is definitely not targeting those that like a good story, but those that like MOBAs. You could slaughter each other on a mouse and keyboard or controller. Predecessor is available on PS4/5, Xbox One and Xbox Series X/S, as well as Windows. There is crossplay between all the listed consoles, but account linking is not a function that is available at this time. Predecessor does look good. Visually, the characters look lifelike. The colors do enough to stand out, but not overly too much, and there just doesn't seem anything that when I looked at it, that seemed off, at least art-wise. But however, the audio could use some work, especially in the voice command system. It's nice that they added a voice to tell you whatever it is that you're trying to say, but it's all said with one generic voice. I think if they had different voices, at least for different roles, it would help with automatically knowing who is saying what. Here are the system requirements. You should be able to run Predecessor with a low to mid-tier gaming PC. Predecessor has the same game flows you would expect from MOBAs. You pick a game mode, pick a role, pick a hero, kill minions, destroy towers, before inevitably killing the core, or get flamed by your team and lose. Then you rinse and repeat until you run out of sanity for the day. Predecessor is broken down into 2 game modes at the moment. There is Standard and Brawl. There's also Player vs AI and Ranked, which are both variations of Standard, one for a shiny medal and a ban in pregame, the other playing against stupid AI opponents to help you get a feel for a new hero. For Standard, this is your traditional 3-lane MOBA game mode. You pick a role from carry to carry these nuts, support to support these nuts, mid to get in between these nuts, solo to play with your own nuts, or jungle to play with everyone's nuts. I'm sure that a lot of you have played MOBAs before, but in case you are living under a pair of nuts, support goes with the carry in the dual lane. Mid goes, and you may be surprised to hear this, but mid. Solo goes in the last lane by themselves, and jungle roams the areas in between the lanes, while killing jungle camps and trying to jump the other lanes with their teammates. You want to push minions under the towers to destroy them, then do the same thing with the inhibitor, and finally do the same with the core, which when destroyed, you will win the game. On to Brawl. This is a 5v5 game mode where there is only one lane. Instead of fighting to take down the enemy's core like in Standard, this time you have tickets and are trying to get your enemy's ticket count down to 0. If you have played Smite, this is very similar to Arena. Both teams start with 400 tickets. With every minion that is killed, or a minion reaches a portal, that it's 1 ticket. For every hero death is 5 tickets. And if you can push the super minion, or in this case Fangtooth, into the enemy's portal, it is worth 15 tickets. The characters in Predecessor are broken down into categories for which lane they should be played in. Doesn't mean you have to. You have your ranged attackers in the carry category, like Sparrow, who is the female equivalent to Robin Hood, minus the stealing part. You have heroes that are supposed to stay by the carry and support, like Zinx, who can give you an automatic defibrillator for any time you mess up. You have your magic users in mid, like Gideon, who is a geologist's best friend, as he drops boulders from the sky to rock your target's world. You have your big boys who slap each other with wet noodles in the solo category, like Crunch, who literally says, imagine what he does. And finally, you have your single target damaging heroes in jungle, like Seraph, who can go inside of people and attack them. Just like in all MOBAs, characters have 3 abilities, 1 passive and 1 ultimate ability. For example, some of the abilities are shooting someone with a shotgun, throwing a boulder at someone, or even creating an ice wall. For the ultimate abilities, you could shoot someone across the map, you could teleport to a teammate, or even jump on top of someone, knocking them up into the air. Outside of abilities, each character has a blink, which is a short dash, and can place a ward down every so often. Just make sure to read each character's passive and abilities so you know what you'll be doing. Or just ignore all the reading and first time a character in ranked like a silly goose. Another huge part in Predecessor is items. In each game of Predecessor, gold equals items. Items equal power. Therefore, gold equals power. I believe Albert Einstein himself wrote this formula. You earn gold from last hitting minions, killing players, or from destroying objectives, like towers. You then buy items at your home base with said gold. You're allowed to buy 6 items, all with different stats that come with them. And you start the game with a crest. A crest is an item that you level up by doing a mission, such as restoring health by using basic attacks. This does not count as part of your 6 items. These are extremely useful, like having a dash that you could chase people down with. In Predecessor, the biggest enemy is going to be the other players, both on the other team as well as your own. You better believe that if something goes wrong, it's almost always because of the jungle. Your solo dies because he is pushed up too far with no wards and down on gold, jungle's fault. Your carry gets killed by their carry alone while your jungle is ganking solo lane on the opposite side of the map and doesn't immediately teleport and one-shot everyone in the lane, jungler's fault. Someone's pizza fell off of their pan, landed on their bare foot causing 3rd-degree burns, jungle's fault. Thankfully, there is a mute button, which is necessary for junglers because nobody can take responsibility for their own failures and will do everything in their power to degrade your morale. So just mute everyone when you play jungle. If you engage with them, you deserve the L. In addition to the enemy team, there are 2 big objectives that teams will be fighting to kill. These are Fangtooth and Orb Prime. Killing Fangtooth will give your whole team bonuses, depending on how many your team has killed and when. The first one gives jungle camps a 50% increase in duration, the second one is an out-of-combat movement speed, and the third one is a permanent increase to armor and damage. If the Fangtooth is a primal one, every player on the team that killed it will receive a temporary on-hit damage buff too. The Orb Prime will give a team who killed it a global damage increase, out of combat health and mana restoration, as well as a major buff to nearby minions. Before 20 minutes, the Orb Prime is Mini Orb, and will only give the benefits of traditional Orb Prime to whoever was the one that dealt the killing blow to it. Since Predecessor is a PvP game, of course, you can invite players to be a part of your party. You could do this through in-game invites or through your console. There are also private matches that you could set up using a match key. As for the potential of griefing, in a MOBA, do we even have to say that there's a whole lot of potential for griefing? From players wanting to surrender every single time something goes wrong, to purposely taking XP or camps, to even straight up feeding or leaving. It's a MOBA, it just comes with the territory, because people are degenerates who like to queue up and waste their own time as well as everyone else's because their teammate missed an ability one time or something like that. So clearly the solution is to give the enemy team kills to purposely make their team lose and waste up to an hour or more of everyone's time. And finally, you can only communicate through in-game text while you're in a game. But you shouldn't unless it's to compliment someone, because MOBA players have egos more fragile than glass, and the slightest critique, no matter how valid and polite, will cause them to go into schizophrenic rage and wish the most awful thing upon you and or throw the game to get back at you for daring to make the smallest criticism, no matter your intentions. There is no pay to win in Predecessor, unless you count unlocking heroes with either in-game money or actual money. If you do, then there is pay to win. And of course, there are skins for everyone to buy for the character, if they so please. The skins are definitely overpriced. I'm not paying $20 plus so I could change my character's outfit. There are some for $5, but it's not worth it in my opinion. It is nice, however, that there is no battle pass. Definite plus for Predecessor in my book. While there are minor things that need to be tweaked, like Zinx's ult not going off when you throw it on someone, there isn't any real game-breaking glitches, which is great. There are things that are interesting, such as when Gadget gets hit, she says, ouch, which is pretty funny, but in my opinion, takes away from the game in terms of seriousness. I don't exactly hate it, but I'm not the biggest fan of it either. Predecessor is a free, fun-to-play third-person MOBA. It runs smoothly, looks good, and has what you could expect from MOBA games. However, the depth of the game just isn't there yet. There are too few items and too few heroes to choose from that can add variety to the game. They are adding new heroes and items occasionally, which this game definitely needs. Also, the developer is doing a great job on fixing or adding things that this game needs, rather than solely focusing on skins. On our patented 0 to 1 scale, we rate this game a 0.74 out of 1, mostly because the depth is just not there yet for this game. There are just too few items and too few heroes at the moment. If you like this no bullshit review of Predecessor, please gank that like button, blame your teammate for not hitting that subscribe button, and hit it yourself. And lastly, leave a comment detailing your most toxic MOBA experience. Thank you, good night, and remember, hit mute or lose because of a dispute.